Welcome back to the Tailosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You've joined me from inside of Pearl. I'm the only one inside my car. I guess no one else got the memo that I sent to myself.
I didn't even know we
all
were doing
today?
EV right now. I'm so ecstatic. You guys might think
We
that,
had to.
Yeah, I know. You guys might think, listeners, viewers, you might think that tech is the favorite amongst us, and you'd be surprised. It actually, it's the most traction based because of news, whatever that is, this point of year. But man, do we EV's the dessert after the dinner, you know what I mean? Like, we like doing EV, and I'm so glad we're doing this right now. So I'm doing good. Hello from inside Pearl. I would be inside Phoenix, but you guys can have the background lights instead. There you go.
Thank you.
I'm not getting into my car.
That.
I'm fine in here. I like a little bit more room at this point.
You've been inside a car long enough, Mike. I hear you.
Yep.
You've been inside a car, but I need to know what it's been like. So for those who don't know, Mike was on a road trip with a gas vehicle for a very long time. Just got back to Jarvis like this past week, I guess, or maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You've been back. You have your EV again. How does it does it feel new, or does it feel right at home? What's it been like?
It feels so much better being in it with the instant acceleration and just the more comfier seats and being able to actually have heated seats and really good climate control compared to the Ram has been fantastic. It's been well missed. Both me and the wife are very much like, we need to get back to the Y now, especially coming back into California with the gas prices of just everything here. It's ridiculous. So it's like, all right, let's get the EV as quick as possible from where we were storing it, which was at my mom's. And yeah, now it's back. Been enjoying driving it around. It's pretty funny being back in the Bay again, where for the rest of the country, it's a lot of gas cars, a lot of big trucks. Surprisingly, I think in every single state, I saw one of those Polaris slingshots, which is the three-wheeled vehicle. So for those of you who are like, the Avatar is very niche, it might be niche, but I saw a three-wheeled vehicle in every single state I was in, and I was in 45 different states on this road trip. So...
And those weren't enclosed autocycles, right? Those were like open air.
They're open air, which is pretty funny being in like Minnesota and seeing a couple Polaris slingshots driving around. It's like, it's supposed to get really cold here in a couple months. Okay.
Why did they do that?
I guess it's a nice summer car or something like that. But coming back to the Bay, just all these EVs everywhere. Still haven't seen a Cybertruck, but I've seen a golden Model S and almost like a Starlight, or the color of the M1 MacBook Air that I've got, that orangish color. There's an orangish color or metallic auburn Rivian R1S that I passed, and I was like, wow, that was beautiful as well.
Oh wow!
Really,
is that a factory color, or was it like a wrap?
Oh no, it was a wrap or a recolor or something like that. Someone had to have done it because it was. I saw my favorite color, Compass Yellow, as well. I get back to the Bay, it's nothing but Rivians, well, just electric cars in general, but like just every single exciting EV is on the road, and not exciting as well. Yet, I haven't seen one Cybertruck yet, which I'm kind of surprised by at this point since I've been back for about a week.
I know.
But
Twitter makes you feel like there's a Cybertruck all over the place.
My mom's seen a Cybertruck and I haven't, which is kind of both embarrassing and hilarious.
I mean, Randy's touched one.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to, brag, but I've seen one years ago. It's at this point, it's old news, Mike. I don't know what to tell you. I tell you what's not. Yo,
like you said, someone was a freshman in high school who's now graduating.
We can't emphasize that enough.
Of the Cybertruck,
and still no Cybertruck. I saw for the first time yesterday. I saw my first out in the wild. Like intentional commuting here, of all places, rural. I saw my first Polestar.
Oh, really?
In a parking lot.
Very cool.
Went to a Target, and I was like, the guy saw me looking at, like, I get out of the Y, and I'm just, and so my wife's like, ooh, look, and I pause. I'm just like, ooh, whoa. And the guy sees me, he's like, and his windows are down, like, he's like, what's up, bud? I'm just like, ooh.
That's all I can say. Ooh.
Like, crikey.
There's parts of the Polestar I really like, but I can't say I love it. How do you guys feel about Polestar?
I like the logo. It's a
I like the
logo.
exterior lights. I think the exterior light
Yes!
design's really good.
In the
Yes.
shape of an L. Yeah.
On your forehead.
Or the was it the
I love
staple
the
rear light?
accented seatbelts. That's my favorite design choice they have. The one I saw had like bright yellow seatbelts and everything else was black. And I was like, I kind of love that.
It was
It's a good look.
really neat to see it. So like, because it's parking right next to my Y, and so I couldn't help but because it's still new, for me here. I'm gonna have to do it. I couldn't help but go, crikey! Today, what we got here is a wild Polestar. The range is not the best, but what it does have is style. I'm gonna poke it with a stick.
I hope you didn't. That would
No,
be bad.
I did. I was like, I told the guy that this is my first Polestar I'm seeing in the wild, and he's like, nice. And then he's like,
See you later.
shopping now.
He said, "Sir, please get away from me."
Yeah. I was like, I must ask you questions. Oh, sorry. I must ask you questions.
Randy's having too much fun with these video effects. If y'all are listening, you're
Hey.
missing out
I
on
know.
all this fun
It's-
Audio
shit.
like I have
listeners,
a-
you're missing out.
It's like I have a whole production team now with me.
Yeah, you do. Man, I mean, you didn't poke it with a stick, but did you shoot it with an arrow?
No, I wasn't cool enough to have like a blonde wig or eat pizza with sardines or something, whatever that was. Anchovies.
Sardines.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
You're being a little bit
Anchovies
too
and
luxurious.
pineapple. Extra
Yeah, there you go.
anchovies and pineapple. I did watch the Joe Rogan
Oh, man.
podcast. I just finished it today, actually. Yeah.
I almost finished it, but I lost a lot of brain cells along the way.
Near the end, it
hard.
started really like you could tell.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't even catch
Elon
the
Musk
end.
is very like he's just like, no, yeah, it's crazy, it's crazy. Wow,
That was good.
Hey Jamie,
that
do
was
you
a
think
good
you could? Yeah.
I
To
was
be-
losing it when Rogan was talking about some tribe that claims to have come from Mars and how their spaceship dissolved, and Elon was like, "No, I don't think so. No," and Joe's like, "I mean, well, they've been here for so long, that none of the ship would be left." Jamie, did you see? And Jamie goes, "Yeah, they didn't say they were from Mars. They just said they were from some other solar system." And he was like, "Oh, huh."
Should we order pizza?
Unless they have a biodegradable ship, I don't think it's going to be sticking around for too long. In which that would actually
I
go
don't-
away even quicker since it's biodegradable. So
I saw
Maybe they should have made their ship out of hemp like Henry Ford.
I saw a grown man shoot an arrow at a metal car and sparks flew.
I did not expect to see.
there's that much love with the Cybertruck that sparks fly.
There was something new. I was like, whoa.
It was
Yeah.
surprising and yet not surprising at the same time. It was like, oh, Joe Rogan shot an arrow at a Cybertruck today, and I was like, that. Of course he did. Like that's in typical. It's bulletproof. And Joe's like, yeah, but is it arrow proof? And,
We
yes,
can find out.
it is.
You want to do it? That'd be really great.
I'll bet you $1.
I can't do his laugh. When he really has like a good gut laugh. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun. That was a fun
I was
one.
surprised he didn't ask him about, SpaceX again or FSD. I was waiting for it. It's like, oh, are we 3 for 3? Are we
I'm
doing
glad
this?
he didn't. The second and third podcasts were almost exact duplicates of each other. It was like Joe had forgotten every last question he asked, so he just
Because he got
continued
baked on
to
the
ask
first
it.
one. He forgot.
He had no recollection of anything. But hey, at least we got the curb weight out of it.
Yeah.
An estimate.
kind of
I wouldn't
interesting.
trust everything that comes out of Elon's mouth in regards to an estimation for what a spec is supposed to be for the vehicle, but it is nice to know that at least 7,000 is something that they're shooting for the Cybertruck, and that's
So what?
likely the range that's going to be around, with a gross vehicle weight being around 8 to 10,000 on its boundary limits.
It's over 9,000. There was a bunch of people that were saying the exact same thing Mike did, which is I don't trust Elon's claims on it, which is fair and reasonable. But my question is, do you think that means the weight is higher than he's saying or lower than he's saying? If you don't believe him, that's fair. I just want to know which.
I'll throw
In
the
what way do you think
same
he's right?
response that you throw at everyone else for the price of the Cybertruck. We don't know what the way the Cybertruck's going to be at launch, and it could decrease over time as well. But I guess what I'm getting at is that it could be around 7,000. It could be
Perfect Drew
7,300. It could be
impersonation,
7,400. Obviously. But I'm pretty sure it's probably somewhere around like 6'8" to 7'7", probably, for a
It's
curb
around
weight.
6 to 8. You mean like 7?
No, 6'8". Sorry, 6,800 to 7,700.
I knew what he meant.
Okay.
I clicked there. I have the engineering brain too. We understand each other.
I don't. I has the
Okay.
dumbs.
Okay, so what that gave me hope for though is there's typically not a ton of weight difference between just powertrains. Just dual motor versus tri-motor, I wouldn't expect that much of a difference in weight, but usually there's more varying weight with different size battery packs.
Mhm.
So the fact that he alluded to it depends on which trim you get, like some weights 65 and some weights 7,000 or whatever. To me, that points to the idea that I was wrong, possibly. We'll see. Elon's been wrong too, but it points to the idea that there's more than one battery configuration for the Cybertruck, which I view as a good thing. That's good news.
Elon does not have a good track record on his own leaks. He is no Tim Cook.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Using the argument of, but Elon said, has not usually paid off very well
No.
in the last 10 years. But
Even
How
when he
long have we
thinks the
known him?
stock is gonna go down, it doesn't. Like, it's really weird. Everything he's incredible. Everything he's saying is completely wrong. It's like he thinks his stock is gonna fall, and it's like, no, man, it's still right in its course. Like, it's incredible how off he is with his own company. But oh well.
yeah, I don't personally think he spends much time at Tesla anymore. That's my own observation based on how he answers questions, how kind of disconnected he seems from a lot of the company.
I think the funny
So-
thing was it Joe Rogan was asking him in that same podcast, like, are you going to put solar on your cars? Does it make sense to have a solar panel on a car? Elon's like, no, not really. Like, doesn't make sense. I think there's some miscommunication going on there. I think Joe was thinking one thing in regards to like putting solar on cars so that way you get more range or whatever. Elon was thinking having it maybe fully self-sufficient just by a solar panel being able to drive everywhere, and that's why he's saying like you need to extend the size of it a bit more, and which then
Exactly.
caused this wonderful situation where the answer didn't really match the question and people are still confused and some people can interpret it one way or another way. And so Aptera just came in and was like, well, here's our product and here's our basic math and it checks out. Kind of just being like, it is possible.
That always annoyed me because I think it's funny you mention that because Joe asked the exact same question the last time Elon was on the podcast, and they had the exact same conversation. I feel like the only person in the room sometimes with a memory. I'm not saying I have a brain, but I have memory, unlike the entry model MacBook Pro, but that's for a different podcast. I can remember I can remember these conversations and how they go, but Joe doesn't. He asks the exact same questions. But yeah, every time people talk about putting solar on EVs, which I personally think is a great idea, Elon's go-to is always just down to the fact that solar can't soak up that much energy, but he doesn't want to talk much about the efficiency of the vehicle. That's almost like it's not up for debate to him. He doesn't even consider that factor. Like the concept that you could get the energy consumption lower, which I think that's half the battle. That's half the reason Aptera's. That's not half. I mean, it's like 80% of the reason Aptera is able to get 40 miles of range per day is from the lower energy consumption, whereas Elon's just obsessed with the surface area topic. Well, maybe if you unfolded it and had a big Starlink-style solar array, then you could have more surface area. I'm like, have you just thought about making more efficient cars? Like, why is that not? Honestly, like, Aptera's not that much different in like top-down surface area than my Model 3. And I've been thinking like Model 3, maybe if we got the Highland refresh, there's a little bit more aerodynamics there. Maybe we slim down on the mirrors like Aptera did and put some more emphasis on the camera feed on the inside. If we just, I would be willing, I don't speak for everybody, but I would be totally willing to sacrifice my glass roof in favor of solar cells on the dash, on the hood, on the roof and stuff. So maybe I won't get 40 miles of range per day, but if I can get like 20 or 15, heck yeah, I would take that. I would love that. I would love to get, what does that translate to per year? 15 a day for, I'll just round down and say 300 days, because some days I understand. That's 4,500 miles of free energy per year.
If you use it.
Why not?
Right.
Yeah.
And also you're parking your car outside, which then it's going to make it a little bit more dirty, so you're going to have to clean it more, or at least make sure that the solar panels are not too occluded as well. And then along with that,
if I'm financially motivated to clean my car, then I'll do it.
let me pose the question to you
I'll
then,
be
Drew.
happy.
What if Aptera got into the solar for car business, where they've got their solar panels that can bend and contort, kind of like the new smartphones that are coming to the market, or their prototypes per se, from, was it Panasonic or Lenovo or whatever. Basically being able to take their solar panel, slap it on your 3, kind of like as a grid type fashion. Would you be willing to pay that? And what would be like the max amount you'd be willing to pay?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, who was it? Sonos was one of the other European-based companies that was trying to make a solar car. They didn't get enough funding in time, so they retired the car project and are now just specializing on adding solar to vehicles slash oddly shaped, solar that's not just for roofs, basically putting solar in weird places at weird angles. So Aptera, I think, has expressed that they're interested in doing the same thing, potentially offering their solar cells and their patents and their designs to other companies. I don't know entirely if it's actually possible for it to be like a retrofit on my Model 3, because you need some way to access the high voltage battery without touching the NAX port, which might be very complicated. I don't know how simple that's going to be without the vehicle being kind of designed for it from the ground up. And there's inverters you have, because it's AC to DC and everything.
Let's just assume it's a wonder box that gets put in the trunk of your car. So you lose a little bit of storage space, but you get maybe 15 to 20 miles of charge a day. What is the max amount that you'd probably pay for that then?
Logistics aside, I don't know. I guess a couple grand. I would have to do some math on how much is this going to save me versus, I'm not too big into let's figure out how to do a retrofit, because that's going to take more time and it's not going to be as scalable. But I'm very interested in installing it on the car from the factory, so it's like designed for it, because then it's just included with the price of the vehicle. It's not honestly that much solar for like 700 watts of solar is not really that expensive, but I guess you need vehicle grade solar, which is more pricey. So I'm in like Fisker Ocean, I believe, also has solar on their roof, and even the new Prius has a little bit. It's not much, but they have little data metrics in their settings that tell you here's how many miles you've gone just on solar. I like it as a concept, as just supplemental charging, but yeah, you're right. Elon feels very much just into well, it can't fully power the entire vehicle, therefore it's not worth it. I'm like, come on, there's more justification. Just to prevent phantom drain, I think would be great. You know, if you're leaving your car at an airport for a few weeks or a few months, and just have a little trickle charge going in so it doesn't die out in the heat, or it can run the HVAC or whatever. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to power the whole car for it to be useful. So.
Right.
Yeah, if in the future maybe Aptera doesn't make it or whatever, but someone else, it could be Hyundai. Like if the Ioniq 6 in the future has a big solar package and NACS, which they said they're switching to. In that event, yeah, and I could see myself being a lot more interested in a non-Tesla in the future. If basically to me efficiency is the name of the game. So if someone's surpassing Tesla or whatever on efficiency while still being affordable and still having NACS. Right now, that's Aptera for me, but it could be someone else.
Sure.
So,
what about you, Randy?
I'd love
Would
it.
you install solar on your car if it made sense in any way? I guess. Do you have any metrics or numbers, or is it just not even worth it in your opinion?
Are you asking for a current car?
Yes. Not so like anything that's probably not an Aptera. Would you consider slapping solar on?
Assuming we're talking about retrofitting a car I already have, no, I wouldn't.
Okay.
A future car, if that was the tech we had, it's something I would consider. Here's the thing, in regards to giving up glass for, solar panel on your roof, we're all three of us, we're the captains of our ship, and at most we're co-pilot. I'm never really in the back to actually appreciate my panoramic views as much as I like them. No,
that's probably why I don't care as much about it.
I wouldn't want to rob that from my kid or something, because he does like looking out. And he's like, ooh, he does. I catch him because I look in the rear view and I got a mirror back there so I can see his face, and I just see him always doing this. It's so
I'd want to
cute.
rob that.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, it's like taking Halloween candy from a baby. Which, by the way, thank you, son. Yeah, thank you, kid.
That's what you did.
Someone gave your son
yes, I did.
Reese's bar, or not Reese's bar, but
You
two
wouldn't
Reese's
like
cups.
this.
He's too young for
This
sugar.
chocolate's spicy, son.
Yeah, you don't like that one. It tastes like gross. You don't like that. So, anyway, I don't necessarily care if there was supplemental charging. The thing about retrofitting a car now, no, because I already bought the long range, and I don't. Knowing my life and how I use the car now is way more than 80% cap is still more than what I need ever. The car basically, I have buyer's remorse sometimes because it basically lives in my garage right now. At least the chapter of my life out here on the East Coast, it's lived in my garage. So it's been a bit of a drag for the last 3 years, but that doesn't mean later on I'm gonna need those mileage. But just knowing how I use a Tesla today, I don't really care about range anymore like that, because it doesn't pertain to me as much. So because of that, I wouldn't retrofit. I got more than enough headspace of charging, phantom drain and all. In fact, recently when I took a trip, I did take my Model 3 to the airport and I left it there, and I did get phantom drain, but I had so much juice in it still. I was like, man, it didn't affect me.
It didn't even matter.
No, I had
energy to spare.
Take it. Yeah. That's the rich man
I ran the
brag.
HVAC and I didn't need to. I ran it because I could.
I had the heating steering wheel just because I could. Just why not? Ain't nobody in there. I was playing music in my car just to scare the people left and right of me, whoever would.
Just the fart mode. I was thousands of miles away activating.
3 a.m. at the airport parking lot. A poor couple just got back from overseas travel and all that, and they just hear.
Yeah, people are outside going like this with their key fob trying to find their car. They're doing this, and all they hear is. So, yeah, no. So retrofitting, no. Going forward, if charging was,
if there was a new car with it,
if there's a car that came as an option, efficiency Yeah, I think that's the name of the game, but actually, I think the name of the game for me that prioritizes over that would probably be costs, to be honest.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think going forward, my plan of action will be cost over anything else, over range, over efficiency, which is weird to say because,
Upfront cost. I mean, efficiency ties into cost, though, right?
well, let's say it like this. In the broader context here, every car I would not get a car that doesn't use NACS, for example. Um,
Agreed.
I and I will have at home charging anyway. So even if that part doesn't really matter. I'll be charging at home most of the time, if not all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Efficiency to me is like how much am I draining over a period of like driving, or how big or what, like say a Chevy. Let's talk about the Bolt again. I can see a scenario where I would buy a 20 something $1,000 new Bolt if it came with solar. I don't really care then if it's if the range is so low and it's not really an efficient battery and it charges slow. I wouldn't really care if there's solar on it then, and I just throw it outside, and because I paid 20 something thousand, I don't really care if it gets beat up in the weather.
Interesting.
Just the same way I would care about my $60,000, $70,000. Like that, there's I found a threshold of where I care. So in that sense, if solar is associated to it, efficiency, I mean, it's not really efficient to just rely on solar exclusively, right, Elon? So it would be cost for me. It's cost that will dictate what happens then kind of going forward from there above anything else.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like, Randy, you're pretty excited over what's coming up soon with basically a war between four armies of VW, Chevy, oh goodness, how did I forget? Volvo, and did I just say it twice? Hold on. Wait.
No.
VW, BMW,
You had
Chevy. I'm forgetting the fourth one, and Volvo. Yeah, because you got the EX30, the Bolt, the the GTI, and then BMW just said that the i3 is likely coming back. So this sounds like a very exciting opportunity for you because these are all compact cars that you've expressed interest in. Along with that, they're going to be
Model
competing.
2.
That's not. We're not talking about that
The
because
Battle of Five Armies.
Oh my goodness, that's not happening. Because again, we have no confirmation on whether you can buy whatever the robotaxi or the next product that Tesla's coming out with that's supposedly supposed to be a compact, and if it's going to be sold in the United States or exclusive to Mexico or China or somewhere else. Anyways, what I'm getting is at least we for sure know that there's 4 different EV compacts coming that'll probably be competing for the cheapest price per whatever they're offering.
Well,
So
if that's cheap, knowing the prices that we got for the Volvo, for example, that's not cheap for me. I wouldn't spend 40 something thousand on a.
well, Volvo's the expensive brand. Think
Yeah, I
about
know.
like VW.
I mean, I've had a
Yeah,
VW.
he's saying
I've had a
that's the
Jetta
problem.
before. I liked it. I wasn't in love with it, but it got me through everything I needed. No, again, I'm not trying to be hypocritical here. I was talking in the context of solar. I would care about price over anything else, not efficiency. But
Okay.
none of those cars are coming with solar. The next car I would still have heart eyes for, and I'm like, ooh, I want you, is definitely a Rivian over anything else. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is
Rivian.
where solar is going to be very.
Oh, I turned it off. That's right.
It's too much. Too much distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rivian is not going to benefit much from solar. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
If I'm really excited, just kind of holding on to my Teslas. If I'm being honest with you, like the more I see all these other cars, it just makes me really appreciate. Whenever I'm in a non-Tesla EV or gas, I just appreciate my Tesla so much more. I go so long not driving Phoenix that when I sit in it, I'm like, oh, I missed you. Come on, let's take the long way home. And I just drive. So,
Yeah.
I want competition to be you know, vibrant. I want these cars to get cheaper with those four that you listed off, and then some. I want every car that's going to NACS to also just go full-fledged, cost efficient with all of this pricing point. Whether because I could see on the bigger EV sector right now, at least in the 2020s, where the cap is for range. Like, we shouldn't be talking about range anymore. We're not, us three, but to get this new audience, this new customer, they still have that like range anxiety. I don't know, it's like my car gets me 300, and they still see things through that way. But people don't seem to really talk about that when it comes to the used market, and that's where I'm more interested in, is really what the used market is going to show out of all these first gen vehicles coming out, and then first iterations with the NACS, and then when they move to the used market, that's where we see more adoption rate, because it will become cheaper ideally, unless it's 2021 again and there's a chip shortage, and then all of a sudden someone might offer me 80 grand, and like a jerk I'm gonna say no. I don't know what I'm doing fair lease, but anyway, so there you go.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. I see where you're coming from. Man. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful for the R2 platform as well. I don't know. I keep getting excited whenever I see like the Ford Mavericks, just because they're so little. I like that smaller size truck, because every time I'm in a big truck, I just I get overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't want to own a vehicle like this. So I'm hopeful that R2, hopefully, because they're trying to make that more global, like it's more than just the American market. I hope that results in a smaller pickup that's more affordable, that still has decent range, and NACS, of course. So it might not be their best seller, but I still think it would be cool. I love the brand. They've done a great job of building their brand, and now I'm very excited to see what expanding that brand looks like. What is their mass market, high volume vehicle, so a lot of people can get excited and say, wow, it's a Rivian, but actually be able to afford it. That's gonna be a bright future, I think.
It will be fun to watch how it competes against cars like the Bronco Sport, which is very much in the same size and most likely capability, but just different drivetrain per se, or different form of energy that's using electricity versus gas. And especially with all the nostalgia with the Bronco Sport. There's so many videos of like these, what Ford's done, which is really smart, is they brought back the Bronco brand and then added on the Sport, which is a smaller kind of like soccer mom, but also just daily driving Bronco that's still exciting in many ways, but isn't as beefy and ridiculous that the regular Bronco is. And then on top of that, like a couple years later into manufacturing this thing, they're like, you know what, let's put in some classic editions of this thing. So you've got Broncos that look like back from when they were first introduced, or maybe not first introduced, but at least they're styling from the mid 90s or late 90s, or not 90s, whatever. You know what I mean? You know what you have in your brain in regards to a old Bronco per se, and all the vibrant color and the very static looking hubs and all that. Trying to compare that to like an R2S or whatever it's going to be will be interesting, and all the different trade-offs that you'll get with saying, yeah, it's a off-roading-esque EV, in which you can still do everything that you could do in the R1S and R1T with the R2, but how much can you do, and if it's going to fit more into like the Bronco Sport category, or still have capability like the regular Bronco and the R1S, is something that I'm interested in seeing with how this product kind of shapes out to be. And also just the dimensions and its capabilities as well, and what it trades off from the R2 or the R1S platform.
I could see it kind of shrinking up a bit, just because I know they said that the goal of R2 is to be a bit more international, and to me that means smaller because Americans love their big cars.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
It's
hoping
true.
that results in more, 5 seats and tighter wheelbase, because I think Rivian's probably kind of positioned themselves as we're like kind of the camping outdoor adventure off-roading brand.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like, the Broncos in there, of course, in the sport, and the Jeeps as well have been kind of established as that. Even Rivian recently, I think, tweeted out a picture of their R1. It was a truck or an SUV or something, but it had the little rubber ducky on it, which is a Jeep thing. They like,
Yep.
I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but it's like the exclusive
Yes.
Jeep club
My
thing. They put
my
little rubber
wife's
duckies on each
one
other.
of my wife's best friends has a Jeep. She's a big Jeep fanatic, and she
Yeah.
posts on her Instagram stories a lot when somebody will randomly, because she'll go to a store or whatever, come back and there's a duck on her windshield.
Yeah,
It's a thing.
it's funny, but I thought it was interesting that Rivian was kind of embracing that too.
I love
they
it.
were like, we're also like the Jeep.
Have
And
fun
I was
with
like,
it.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that their little way of saying the R2 is going to be a lot narrower and still have a great off-roading capability, but just not be as bulky as an R1S, probably less luxurious. But yeah, I think that's the genius of Rivian from the beginning. I remember even before the Cybertruck came out, I was a big fan of Rivian just because it felt like what they were good at was they went after markets that were not being served, which I liked. They started with the truck and the 7-seater SUV. And in the electric space, there just really was not that many of those. I think they're still technically like the first electric truck to ever come out. I think they beat the Lightning by a couple months or something.
Mm-hmm.
So Rivian kind of
Yeah. You're right.
goes after basically what others aren't. And the biggest player in the room is Tesla, of course. So I think it's smart now that Tesla's kind of picking up with the Cybertruck, that space is getting a little bit more crowded. Now let's focus on what is Tesla and everybody else not catering towards at this moment. We don't see too much emphasis yet on an all-electric Jeep, all-electric Bronco. There's talk, there's rumors, but it's not anything too concrete. So Rivian I hope they could focus more on smaller form factor, tighter wheelbase, less luxurious, welcome a more dirty aesthetic, but of course bring it to a lower price so that more people can afford it, and it could also be popular internationally. It's not just a vehicle for the U.S. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my hope, at least.
Well, it's probably why they're starting out with
like
the the Ram 1500 Rev. It's a nice way to throw in a whole bunch of batteries into a product, see how their battery technology and I guess just their whole package performs
Yeah.
in a truck body. And then from there, scale it down, but still retain a lot of that durability and also range for doing off-road stuff. So that way it's very much catered towards a Jeep product that's able to get muddy, to get submerged a ridiculous amount, to get rolled over and still probably be okay and all that.
Yeah.
That's what makes
I
me
think
excited.
for Ram,
Mhm.
it's a great first step because it's not going to be very great at scaling if it requires battery packs that big, but I don't think they want to start out with a high volume. Kind of like everybody else, they're kind of starting with the low volume. Establish a name for yourself, have some good street cred, which is personally my prediction on the Ram 1500.
Okay.
It's going to make for some very happy YouTube commenters. there may not be a bunch of them available at launch because it might be expensive, or it's not going to be built at high volume. However, the few people who do get their hands on one are all, I think, going to be very impressed and very happy with it because of the range, and just you can't argue with the physics of it. If you got a massive battery pack like that, you can just go. And I think that will look good on paper, it will look good in the reviews, and people will speak highly of it. And then as generations go on, they can work on scaling it up. So I agree. I think it's a great first step for them.
Mm-hmm. And it's a vehicle I'm excited for as well, as someone who wants 500-mile range in an EV so I can tow stuff. I forget what YouTube channel that I was going to shout out. I think it's TFL or TLF or whatever. Basically, they do a lot of different car review stuff. And what they've done is they've taken the 3 or 4 big EVs, the GMC Hummer EV, the F-150 Lightning, and then 2 different Rivians down Ike's Pass, I believe. I forget if that's in Colorado or somewhere. And have kind of benchmarked how they do while towing a 9,000 pound trailer, which basically is what they have is a big trailer, or basically a flatbed trailer with a Jeep on top. And so it's very consistent in how they're doing it, or how they're testing the towing capability going down a hill and then going back up a hill. And which it just makes me excited that those data points exist. So that way we can compare it to like the Cybertruck and the Ram 1500 Rev and be able to see how it does stack up and if it is better or not. Oh, sorry. They tested also the Chevy Silverado EV. And so apparently that one's been the best.
That never will.
Well, yeah, which is unfortunate. I don't know if we covered that on this podcast or not.
I don't think we did. But they were like literally about to start deliveries. And then they scrapped the whole. They were like, oh, never mind.
Mary said, never mind. We need to go back to the drawing board because we can't just rush this out immediately, especially with the UAW knocking on their door saying, you need to pay us more.
It was already not profitable, and it was about to be ultra not profitable. They were going to go from negative 100% margin to negative 500% margin, probably. So they were like, hold up. And then, I don't know if you guys saw, but they also scrapped their plans to hit 1 million EVs a year by 2025, which...
Well, at least they're being honest.
You're right. That's the optimistic way to look at it. At least
it's better than companies like Subaru who are like, we're going to introduce 6 or 7 different EVs by like the end of 2024 or something like that. And all we've got right now is the BZ4X. We're going to
unveil a new EV every day for the next 6 years. Yeah, you're right. At least they're being transparent. You know what we said earlier? Yeah, that ain't happening. Sorry. It's like, okay, that's true. Thank you.
I like that they gave specs and prices for the Equinox, though. So that way we have some expectation on what it's going to be. But we still have to wait for it, which at least gives me some comfort knowing that they're going to deliver these products at some point. It's just not this year that they're going to deliver them in the amount that they were thinking they were going to, which is okay.
Yeah.
If it means that GM gets to survive and be able to deliver EVs, it's better than just wiping them out entirely, because I don't want that. I want more competition and I want more options in the market, so that way you can compare and contrast what GM's doing to Ford, to Ram, to whoever else, and be like, well, if you want something that's super cost effective, get the Bolt. If you want something that has a high rate of charge, get the Porsche or the Audi or something like that.
It's not the first EV they've killed. They actually killed one of the first EVs, if you think about it. But anyway.
Too soon.
They're in the business of killing EVs.
It's still too soon.
They're like killed by Google. We'll have killed by GM. We'll have a website just tracking all the cars they've killed. Google Motors, anyone? Okay, I have 2 questions. One's kind of for Mike, and then the other's more for Randy. But the first one was, is there electric truck on the market that could basically fill... Could you have done the big road trip you just did with the EV pickup that's available now? Or was the routes and the times you were doing and everything on your big road trip, was that doable with like a max pack Rivian or a large pack Lightning or something?
If I opted for if I somehow at the beginning of this road trip, in which I think technically around the time I was, dual motor large packs were coming out for Rivian, in which I saw one the other day for the first time in person. It was like, oh, that's a black badge. Oh, cool. It's a dual motor. But if I was somehow able to get the dual motor max pack R1T or R1S, doesn't matter which one, I guess whichever one gets...
Deliveries have started.
Yeah,
just for the record.
Whichever one gets the most range, which I've forgotten at this point. I think it's the R1S gets 400, whatever. I could
Truck's a
technically
little
do the
longer.
trip that I did. The issue is that it'll take longer because, of course, you're
Yeah.
having to stop more. With the truck, the Ram that we've got, we're able to go wherever. I mean, like, yeah, our range is cut in half from like, I think 450 down to about 225 or 230 or something like that.
Okay.
So it's getting to the point where, like, yeah, we have an underpowered truck per se. It's a 4x4 classic and all that. So it doesn't have the best towing. So we're already limited by what we can tow behind it. And what's conveniently funny about that is it puts it in probably the same range as, or close to the same range as an R1T or an R1S with the large pack or the max pack. But there's not a a charging station wherever we were going, because in some places we're going to like the corner of the state where it's like there's nothing there. Like it's a big factory town, but like everyone in the town works there and it's just some chemical factory and there's no EV chargers anywhere unless you want to plug into an outlet. So that would be the main constraint. But I think it is possible. I think it was possible to do that road trip, in which I'd like to try something like that again with an EV and just see how well it could do.
Yeah,
of
that'd be
course,
fun.
it'd be an interesting comparison because it'd be likely in the future, of course, because I don't own an EV truck or SUV right now that's capable of towing the trailer that I've got. But it would be one of those that probably could at the time or maybe in the future do that same route with the rollout of superchargers and Rivian Adventure Networks and any other third-party charging stops being placed all over the place. But in terms of the time, I don't think I could go from Bay Area all the way across 45 states back to Bay Area in the time that I did with the Ram 1500. It'd be very exhausting. It'd be basically running 24 hours a day, in which we didn't. Like the max we did was maybe 12 hours one day, and after that we were like, we can't do anything the next day. We're destroyed.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. And then the question for Randy I had, because you were talking about range and kind of the whole doesn't matter as much as we originally thought, was the big reveal this week, now that deliveries have started for the new rear-wheel drive Model Y, and we found out it's not LFP.
Yeah.
And it's actually using, we don't know for sure, but nickel-based it appears, at least according to the charge recommendation. So I guess my question is, knowing that, okay, maybe it qualifies for the tax rebate next year, could be $7,500 off point of sale next year, now that we know it's probably not a Chinese battery. Does that affect your recommendation of the rear-wheel drive versus the long range?
Well, no.
Okay. That was a long pause.
Because I wanted to give it an honest. I wanted to give that an honest thought before I answered it. No, because at the end of the day, when it comes to me, when you asked me when that question was posed, like for me recommending something, whether I know you or I don't, and I've had a lot of people who just tweet at me or DM me or something, and I talk to them as if I was talking to a longtime friend. And the recommendation, almost unless they tell me otherwise, always comes through the filter of cost first, especially if this is a first buy. A lot of people are very hesitant. Responsible people are hesitant about just taking a plunge like that and putting themselves in debt like that, because most of them will take out a loan. So whatever I can recommend that helps offset the cost, I will always lean towards saving you money first over anything else. So that's the longer answer to why I'm saying no. Cost. People will look at they'll do what we did. They're gonna Google it. They're gonna do a side by side, compare spec, and go and look at all these things. And we're always looking at like, what's the bottom line financially? What does that look like? And then I would put my own personal my personal experience into it as well, and say like, look, I bought a long range, not really understanding if I really needed it or not, and at the time I thought I did, and then life happened, and COVID happened, everything happened, and put new things in perspectives, and the technology matured, and there's better opportunities out there, just as a whole, better opportunities out there. LFP does not qualify you for the tax rebate, right?
We don't know for sure, but
It's
as far as I can tell, it shouldn't.
Right.
I mean, technically, it shouldn't qualify for the full credit now, but it
Right.
does, which is why I'm saying we don't have IRS guidance to say definitively, but as far as Tesla on the website says reductions likely after this
Yes.
year. So if Tesla thinks it won't qualify, then I think we should believe them. But
So
it'd be
even
interesting if the
more of my case saying that way than is that like, look, man, we're talking about pricing here, and we want to take overall cost. Look at these options then, and yeah, I will always go towards the cost saving route first and foremost. Like, what are you going to be paying for the price of that vehicle? Not how you use it, not how you customize it later or anything like that. What's the base price you have to pay just to leave with that car in under your name at that point, and then we'll go from there. If somebody's like, hey man, look, money's not an issue, I've been saving up, this is not my first Tesla, or this is not my first EV, what do you think I should get? Then it's a bit of a different we might have a different conversation. But most, like 90% of the time, it's like, all right, here's how much you can save by doing it this way.
It's funny that you asked that question, Drew, because there was a person who reached out to me on Twitter that had basically that same conundrum for both the questions that you asked me and Randy, where he had a nice story that he reached out to me on Twitter. I was going through a lot of my spam messages and found his that wasn't spam. I'm like, oh, why did this appear in spam? This is actually a really great message, and it's a really great story. And I didn't asked him if I could share this, so I'm not going to give most of the details per se. But what's cool is that he reserved a 2021 F-150 Lightning, and at the time it was $40K, which he was comfortable with. And then also at that very same time in 2021, the Model Y was $65K. Well, time progresses, Ford's like, well, JK, the Lightning's going to cost like $67K or up to $70K to get. And then around that same time, around that same time, the Model Y dipped down to about $40K thanks to the 4680 Model Y. And so he's like, well, this doesn't sit well with me with having to pay so much more for an EV that, yeah, it's a truck, it's kind of first of its kind, but it's a lot of money versus a cheaper vehicle that is an SUV or a crossover SUV, but can still do most of the things that they need for their use case. And so they made the decision that they did to probably go cost-wise, which is kind of like what Randy was talking about, is it's a great entry point into EVs for something that has a bunch of space, isn't overly huge, isn't overly costly to the wallet, but still is able to do a lot of things, and it's an EV. But he made a good point that, of course, we still got time between now and 2030s and whatever for EV trucks to mature. And also during that time, so will the price of the Model Y and whatever else Tesla makes. So I think it's very funny that those two questions kind of point to something that someone reached out to me and talked about as well in regards to both trucks and Model Y starting price, and how it's kind of a tough sitting point that we're at for if you're wanting to buy an EV truck or if you're wanting to get an entry-level Tesla, that the prices are always fluctuating. It's kind of tough to tell when to pull the trigger and what thing to buy, if it'll appreciate or depreciate in cost, and by how much, and if it's worth it in the end.
I would say assume everything will depreciate. That's a good rule with cars. Pretty much nothing's gonna... Maybe short-term Cybertruck. I think Cybertruck will probably make a profit within its first... if you take delivery of one within the first year of production, but after that, probably not. But why do you guys think they made the rear-wheel drive Model Y with the 2170 cells? Is that purely for tax credit benefits, or maybe the interest rates are so high that they're trying to make more affordable options, so they were like, okay, well, we could keep cutting the price on the long range, or we could actually start taking things out? Like, I'm curious why, after all these years of not having that, they decided to bring it back now.
It is a tough question to answer.
Yeah, I wish I knew.
I mean,
it's weird. It's random. Yeah.
My fun fan theory is that they're trying to fill the void that the 4680 Model Y made, because one could easily say that
kill that off,
they killed that off, most likely because they want to focus primarily on Cybertruck. And again, I don't watch like Joe Tegmeyer or people that cover the exterior of Giga Texas and all that. But if there's no Model Ys there at Giga Texas that are meant for delivery, not just employee owned, then that infers that they're just going all in at Giga Texas right now with 4680s in the Cybertruck. And so then maybe they had some availability with Fremont manufacturing. Because again, we don't know where this battery is being built. It could be built in the United States. It could be built in China. It could be built somewhere else. But most likely,
I don't even really know if it has 2170s. There's a theory in the back of my head that maybe this is a rear-wheel drive with 4680 cells, like old ones they had lying around. I don't know, but
that's interesting.
Maybe, but at least with what you said
LFP.
Is that it's not LFP, and I guess we don't know if it is 4680 or not. You're right, but it's not warning us about being able to charge 100%. But it has more weight and less range than the long-range all-wheel drive. So,
well, it's not heavier than the long range, but it's close.
It's close in weight, so that infers that there's an energy
it's
density
heavier than the
detriment
old
going on.
versions. Right.
Yeah, whether they're putting in dummy cells or it's just a weaker energy density for the chemistry that they're using, which would infer probably a nickel, cobalt, aluminum, or nickel manganese. Cobalt, yeah. So, who knows?
I just wonder if that's... I feel like my best bet is that it's strategic because they already have 2170 cells around Fremont. They've got a supply chain for that. So their logic was, 244, that was the old model, was too low. So they put in just enough 2170s to hit 260 so they could say, see, Elon, it's enough now. It's fine. But their goal was, how do we make sure, let's do a standard range option that's cheaper with one motor that still qualifies for the full 7,500 rebate, just so that in the future, next year with high interest rates and everything, we still have one of like the cheapest options on the market. Like we just have a super low barrier to entry, and it's a crossover, so it's super popular. It still has NACS, it has the supercharger network, which you can't really say about all the competition yet. I mean, they're getting there, but for 2024 they're all still going to be relying on magic docks and adapters and all that. So I think Model 3 is probably about to get big refresh, and Model 3 probably doesn't have the big volume, and not even necessarily the demand, because it's a sedan. So Tesla's just like, how do we make a super cheap that qualifies for all the credits and rebates crossover with our brand and with our charging network, but let's keep it as basic as possible. Let's keep it really easy to scale up. That's my best bet, because otherwise I don't know why offer this now.
Yeah, I don't know. They always be making weird moves that I can't even anticipate. But honestly, as weird as it is, it's kind of why I like being a shareholder. I'm along for the ride. I can't anticipate it. Apple, it's pretty safe to say September's going to be a good time of the year. June is a good time of the year to build high. From June to September, June to October, that's pretty cool. That's a good time. Tesla, I have no idea when or if or what. And then, take the captain at the helm, what he feels like saying out loud one day. Who knows? I don't know. I would like to think that the naivety. How you say that word? The
Naivety.
naivety.
You got
Me,
it.
me by me being naive. There you go. um, I would like to say that's just options, just as simple as giving you as much. I like the idea of letting somebody drill down to their dream Tesla, regardless of whatever it is. The more than 5 colors, more than one type of battery, more than one type of motor, more than one type of everything, to even the seat configuration. If they let you do it with software, I like the idea of letting people like drill down to like what the blueprint of the car is going to look like. But I know that's not true. I know that's not why they do it. There's things about streamlining everything. How can we make the assembly line as efficient as possible? And I get that. I do get that. But a part of me is like, with all these factories going up, there's gotta be something to let people, build a bare workshop equivalent of just, build a big car workshop and do whatever you want to do. Go in and design it and then hit, print order. Take the receipt to the cash register to the checkout line.
You don't even need a receipt.
Yeah.
It's all email at this point.
Yeah, but you get my point. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
The little neuro strip. Model I rewrote. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious how long this one will stick around, because seeing the long range get a little uptick in price is making me think, okay, maybe not that many people are buying it because the long range isn't that much more and it offers a lot more features, so everyone's like, might as well go dual motor, might as well have the faster charging. So Tesla's like, well, crap, how do we get people actually buying this one and without lowering the price? I guess we make long range more pricey, and that kind of pushes people towards standard. But I still think it's probably decent enough at road trips. I don't know what the charging curve looks like, but I just hope they change their narrative, because anytime people start talking about cobalt, they all say, well, most of our EVs are iron-based. And I'm like, there's only one in the U.S. At this point. There's only one Tesla with iron-based batteries, but they keep saying that most of the cars we make are iron-based. I guess they're referring to China, but
China.
There's no cobalt.
China.
Yeah. But Tesla's gonna Tesla. All right, should we talk Cybertruck now? Has it been long enough?
I mean, we started the whole podcast with Cybertruck, but what do you want to talk about specifically?
I don't know if Randy was on the last time we talked about the delivery date, and Randy's usually more bearish on timeline, so I'm curious.
Randy's
are we in Cybertruck
right.
month, Randy?
No.
Are we getting Cybertrucks this month?
No.
What do you mean by we? Say, define
humanity.
Yes, I think humanity is getting Cybertrucks this month.
I don't subscribe to that as the terms. We is not humanity. We as the paying customer who does not work for Tesla, just schmuckatelli who put in $100 reservation. Are those people getting Cybertrucks this month? No.
Right. Are we getting a live stream that's branded a delivery event?
I mean, that's what they say. I'm sure, I guess. I don't think they've ever canceled a live stream.
They
killed one.
Battery Day like 6 times, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, but
crazy. Battery Day is like, that's
the nerdy. This is the hype. This is the anticipation. This is the, this is what people like. Woo! This is what we're waiting for, baby. Let's go. This is it. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be an event, especially since it's gonna be 4 years to the day. God.
Almost. A little bit more.
It's longer. Yeah.
We got people who are tax-paying adults who can vote that were didn't even go through puberty when this was announced. Yeah. Because I want to like measurement of time is man-made construct. Time is a man-made construct. So instead of me just telling you dates, I'm going to tell you a person's timeline in their life. That's more, that humanizes the situation. That makes it tangible about how long we've waited. Somebody has facial hair now that didn't have it back back in the.
That's true.
All I'm
Do you
saying.
guys believe the? You can finish your thoughts. Sorry.
No, I'm good. I'm good. You get my point.
Okay. There was the leaked / rumored / faked.
Oh my goodness! No,
posts going
no,
around.
Drew, you need to stop this. These are all fake. Why do you keep on buying into them?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's fake? Is my question.
Why would they do that in the first place?
I know I think it's perfect. You don't want to reveal a price because you're not going to commit to it, but you need to figure out who's actually interested in taking delivery.
But
so
Drew,
you call
why
them
would they
because you
be
can't
trying to sell the
screenshot a
first
phone call.
500 Cybertrucks or whatever number they want before a delivery event that's going to be just for employees?
Well, the deliveries, I think, will continue after the event. And right now, Tesla has a very weird position to figure out because everybody's begging for pricing, and Tesla probably doesn't want to reveal it because it's bad. And it's going to look bad for the company, and the stock's going to crash if it's all over the headline. The price is this, the price is this. So the concept of individually calling a few people and saying, hey, are you still interested if it's this much? And that way you can't screenshot it and say, hey, Tesla emailed me saying this is the price. That's how I would do it if I were them. If they got to figure out how many real reservations holders they have, a phone call would be a good way to do it. And also Tesla has called me before, annoyingly, without much warning. They've been like, hey, we saw you were playing around with our solar configurator, or hey, we noticed you were looking at the trade-in. Would you like to complete? And I'm like, why are you calling me? Like, I will order the thing if I want to order. So the concept of getting a spontaneous phone call, in my opinion, is a great way to keep it kind of under the table, like not.
Yeah, but
make a
that's
big
not what
deal about
happened.
it, but
The posts were about two different instances of a person getting a PDF or some type of sheet that details out the price of the Cybertruck.
I didn't believe that one. I believed the phone call one. That one made sense to me. The sheet was clearly fake.
Yes, agreed. I just don't think Tesla would be like calling people right now, a month before delivery event, for what we all likely believe is going to happen is employees getting their Cybertrucks. And it's just what happened with the Model 3s. They gave Model 3s to employees, and the employees acted as basically the guinea pigs for the first production units. And so,
but the employees had to know what they're paying, right? You're not going to find out on delivery day what it costs.
yes,
At some point, they got to tell a number to somebody, right? Like, how do you think they would tell a potential employee or the real first official customer? How do you think they would tell them? Do you think they would put it on the website, email them, text them, call them? To me, call makes the most sense.
I think it happened a week before or a couple days before or even the day of. Especially if it's an employee, because they have that way of controlling that person because they are an employee. So they're able to do that, or it just basically becomes there's maybe not even a transaction going on. It's quite literally you were chosen as a first delivery owner of the car, but it's technically still Tesla's. You're just driving around, kind of like with what we see with the release candidates here in the Bay, is that you see Cybertrucks going back to these employees' houses, but like, did they buy it? Probably not. That's why I'm thinking, I don't think the pricing is, well, first of all, it's like you said, it's never going to be finalized per se, but like, even if they had pricing for these launch units, I don't think they would want to disclose that now, or at least risk having that leaked right now, especially when they're being so shut lip about the event Heck, we didn't even know what was going to happen at the delivery event. And then Elon's like, well, there's going to be a couple ones. I'm not going to spoil too much, but we're going to be shooting with a bunch of different guns and showing that off and all that. Like,
Right.
we don't know
Pull
much
out all
about.
the guns.
We don't know what's going to happen at this event. Besides, it's
Whether
a
or
delivery
not
event.
it could be fake, I fully acknowledge that, but I think it's a very, very good fake because the price they say in that post totally sounds like a Tesla price to me.
Okay.
It was like 98,990. I was like, that's exactly how Tesla would price something. It's like, it's not 100, but going $10 below 100K is petty. So we go $1,000 below, and then you do the classic $10 to make it have more nines in the price, which is what they do with everything else. And the demand is crazy high for it. If it's a tri-motor, the Plaid Model X is the closest thing to a tri-motor Cybertruck they have right now, and that's 95,000. So a tri-motor Cybertruck being 99.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, this is believable to me.
Maybe, but it could just be a good story to get internet clout. There's people on Reddit that are anonymous and write like the green text type of stuff just for internet clout and all that, and they're not being recognized like, oh, this user's great. Like, they're just doing it because they want to put a joke out there, or at least a fun, interesting, weird story out. And I guess maybe I'm just a little more skeptical than you.
My point is, it could be fake and still be accurate at the same time. It could be a made-up story with an accurate price.
The Soviets probably made it to the moon as well.
I'm just gonna laugh if that ends up being the price. And everyone's gonna, no, it was still fake, Drew, I swear. They just got lucky. It's like, okay, well, that's my only point.
You
is that
don't
even if
know
it was
what
fake,
you're talking about.
You don't think the tri-motor's 98,990? You gotta do this every week.
I like the Apple Fitness Plus thing more than whatever this exercise is.
90 days of Cybertruck pricing.
I don't know. It's the pressure's on because my perfect track record is about to get compromised. If I filibuster for the next few moments, then we'll run out of time, and I can never give that answer.
Well, Randy, you can always
This
give
reminds
the
me of
wonderful...
the old saying.
Oh, goodness, no.
I felt crazy before, and I ended up being on. So that's
Drew,
why
you are crazy.
I remember saying,
Yeah, you are kind of crazy,
Huh?
though.
that's fair, but sometimes I'm
That's
right.
fair.
Like, I remember on this podcast saying I thought the 4680 Model Y was going to be 60 grand, and that's what it was. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's lower, but the leaked pricing sounds very believable to me, and I think a lot of people just instantly dismiss it simply because it's not Tesla themselves tweeting out the price. So that makes it that, well, there's no way that can be right because Tesla's not the one saying it. And I'm like, well, Tesla doesn't have to be the one saying it for it to be right.
Let me throw a question back to you then, Drew, because we did that one podcast without Randy, and you speculated that they released the dual motor first and then the tri-motor a couple months later. Are you not believing that anymore just because Elon keeps on hyping up the performance Cybertruck and then now saying the beast mode Cybertruck and all that, or beast mode features to a Cybertruck? You're thinking that it's going to be two models released whenever deliveries are available, or I guess orders are available for those that want a Cybertruck.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it makes the most amount of sense to release two at once. It sounds a little bit more complicated, and I think you could get a lot of double sales if you started with the dual and then a year later did the tri. But all of the evidence right now is pointing to the option of having two. The NHTSA documents refer to a dual motor and a tri-motor Cybertruck. That's a pretty good indication that they're at least preparing multiple options. I don't know if they'll both be available at launch, but it sounds like there's two. And then when Elon gets asked about the weight, he says it depends on which trim. But yeah, somewhere between 65 and 7,000 pounds. And I'm like, okay, if you're talking that wide of a margin depending on which trim you get, I think that's going to come down to battery pack sizes. I don't think tri-motor is going to result in hundreds and hundreds of pounds more weight. So his answer, the NHTSA documents and the phone calls, which no one believes except for me, all are pointing to there being a tri-motor for $98,990 and a dual motor for $79,990. That's, in my way, Tesla can say, see, it qualifies for the credit a little bit, and then at the same time
what
say,
I'm hearing you
see,
say is that I was
we
right
have our
about my
margins.
pricing.
And I was too.
I feel like we need to rewind to hear what Randy said about pricing.
Randy said
We've all voted many times.
Randy's
but I
been
said the dual
consistent
motor
though.
would be...
Drew has a spectrum. Randy's been consistent. Get your sticky, Mike. Go to your wall. Go get that sticky from last year.
As you can tell, I'm no longer in that office, and also the stickies
I've
are
said
gone.
for a while now, dual motor would be 80.
You keep refining your answer as time gets closer, but what you're saying is, shoot, Randy was right.
I don't even remember what your guess was, to be honest.
Randy never said, because and I quote, there's no way this is going to be any less than 6 figures. This thing's going to be the most sought after,
for the high
demand. Now, I don't know. Now, of course, now we got a little asterisk next to our statement, don't we, Drew? I bet we do. I'm over here, as cool as a cucumber. Yeah, it's going to be 70, 80, something like that. Look at that.
I don't think it'll be 70.
Well, 70 something. I mean, it's
I'll
going to be in the
say that.
70s. By your same logic, by your same technicality, 79,990 still counts.
It's not 70s.
That's your own
That's like calling
technicality
me a
with the
90s baby.
98,99999 round to the nearest decimal.
That's like saying I'm a 90s kid. It's just not true.
It makes me so angry. Guys.
You are on this council.
But we do not grant you the rank of 90s kids. If you were alive and remember watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air before the infamous, if you do not remember that, what? Oh, it blocked out the sound. I was singing the Full House theme song. If you don't, if you don't remember those catchy tunes, you are not a 90s kid.
That's right.
All right.
So 79,990 is not in the 70s because it's that close.
You know, I think there is a compromise here. I think the fact that it will come, or hopefully will have accessories like the crossbars, kind of like with what the Rivian has, but cyberfied for the Cybertruck, will put it over to 6 figures if you're getting the tri-motor. So I think technically Drew is correct. In a way.
I think what... That's right, Mike. Thank you.
You are off this show.
The launch... What's rumored and being leaked is launch pricing. I still feel that with proper demand, it could go much higher than that. But there's not one definitive answer, which is why my answers may seem vague. It's like, do I think it'll be $100,000 in 5 years? No. Probably not even in 2 years. But
you said no.
At launch for employees, yeah, probably about $100,000. And the first people who want to take delivery within the first few months of production. Yeah.
I think those numbers, even though I don't believe them, the ones that you said before, Drew, and somehow asteriskly agree with Randy's, are probably accurate in some regard. I think it's becoming more believable to me.
I'm right, but for the wrong reason.
I've always,
loyalty, Mike.
I don't remember my previous predictions because, of course, I've got a bunch of other things to think about these days. But I do recall being very conservative / very extreme about the price, which those two words maybe don't make sense when putting them together. But what I'm trying to say,
Drew's pricing.
What I believe is that it's going to be a pricier truck than we think, especially compared to what the original price was, or originally stated price back in 2019. Man, that's way too long ago. But I think feasibly many Cybertrucks at the end of the checkout process, when you're writing down all like the check or wiring the money or whatever you're doing is going to be probably 6 figures for most people for the first 3 years of Cybertruck deliveries.
3 years, wow.
Yeah. Well,
Dang.
most likely.
Even Drew's like, even I think that's aggressive.
Well, I just think about how
You
aggressive.
might be right, honestly. Because it's in my viewpoint is Tesla's gonna price based on supply and demand. That's what it all comes down to. And
from my
demand,
point of view, the
I think,
Jedi
will
are evil.
Then you are lost.
I think the demand for a long time will probably continue to be quite high with supply not that great. So
Yeah.
if that's to be believed, then yeah, it could be many years of 6 figures.
Yeah. Well, I just think about just regular F-150s and 250s. They're still pretty pricey. If you package it with anything, really, or if you really want like decent specs on it, it's gonna cost you more than $2 or $40, and then add 3 zeros. So
There you go.
I think
Mike's
with the
price guess, $40.
yeah, definitely. Take it all out of context. That's my prediction.
At
$40.
least minimum $40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one. $40. There it is.
Will not be under 40.
I think the reservation will cost way more than that. But anyway. Yeah.
I'll just ask my smart assistant to remind me in about 70 years or 60 years to sell a Cybertruck for $40. And then I'll just get some random
I would like
and not know what to do.
Maybe Riley can work on this. We need like a graph that shows the 3 different lines are the 3 different people on this podcast and our price guesses over time. And we could see them go up and down.
Or anyone else. If y'all remember what we predicted, or if you want to go all the way back to like, imagine that they have to listen to every single episode of this podcast
real quick
to get like,
yeah, just listen to every EV podcast.
Nick will be on there as well for a bit too, and then he'll just kind of stay
Nick will have his own line. He will be at the top too, because I remember him saying he thought it'd be 120 grand, which
I think he's hoping that's going to be the price if he can flip a profit or whatever his strategy is.
He's banking on Cybertruck being a better investment than Tesla.
That's his retirement plan right there.
It's not a bad theory, honestly, at this point. If Wikipedia needs the money bad enough, Elon's going to be selling some more stock. So
No. Stop.
Do you think Wikipedia had a meeting about that?
No comment.
I just sometimes have you Rooster Teeth used to have, I don't know what they're doing now, but they used to have that $1 million butt game.
I have that game. I love that game. It's great.
Yeah. This was a real life version of that. Can you imagine not playing it as a game hypothetically, but literally $1
million.
You should,
but
you get $1 billion, but you have to rename the site. Do you think that's the boardroom had to sit around and go, are we doing this? That just sounds like such a fascinating meeting. Weighing the pros and cons.
To be a fly on the wall for that one.
I would love to know if they actually had a meeting or they never took it seriously in the first place.
Anyways, Rivian doesn't get free Rivian Adventure Network charging anymore, which is kind of a bummer. But I guess
the adventure is not free.
The adventure is live.
I don't know who said it. The adventure is working with Electrify America. That's an adventure in itself.
My coworker, the one that I think I've probably mentioned in the past, who owns a VW ID4, said in the early days, Electrify America was great. Now, if he goes to Electrify America today, it's literally like throw 5 different dice, and if you get maybe 4 of them snake eyes, it's going to be a decent experience. Otherwise, it's going to be bad.
Everyone with a VW I've talked to hasn't had that much of a bad experience with Electrify America. It's almost like they're owned by them or something. There's some kind of
Interesting.
vertical integration. And
Huh.
But no, the guy I met up with for the ID4 also said he reads about people having issues with EA all the time, but he doesn't have any. It's almost like when an automaker makes their own chargers, it works better. It's weird.
That's the
Or when a group of them
what's
get together.
the buyer's bias. No, there's a saying like
Owner's bias?
no like. Is it the saying that like you value your thing to be worth more than what it is because you bought it? There's a phenomenon.
Yeah. I would call that owner's bias. I have that.
You
We
don't
did
say.
it with the Model 3. Our Model 3 is better than the new one.
Yeah. I was like,
Yes.
I think I like gear stocks. The more I think about it.
Yeah. Stupid pilot yoke thing. Get out of here. Mine's cool.
I like having my separated fog lamps and everything.
I like having FSD I can never use accurately.
At least you have ultrasonic sensors.
I keep reminding everybody. I was like one of the last Teslas delivered with ultrasonic sensors. I was in the final.
Oh,
wave.
good for
They removed
you.
So I can actually use Smart Summon in an auto park
How dare
if
you?
I paid for it.
How-
But
if I had it.
if I had it, I could use it. Unlike all the hardware for people who are stuck.
I use mine to take my car out of the garage to wash it, and the reason why I did that is because I was doing yard work and I was already like pretty dirty. I didn't want to sit in the clean car that I cleaned the interior of the day before, so I just used Smart Summon to go outside with the car or have the car drive itself out, and then I washed the exterior, and that was a fantastic experience. But don't ask me how I got back in the garage.
So bad.
How did you get back in the garage, though?
I said not to ask.
I
No
want
comment.
That feature so bad. I was thinking about we might be getting some work done on our house in the near future, and we're also taking a trip. So I'm debating, okay, where do we leave our car? And I had the thought in my head. There's one part where they might be working in our little carport thing here, and I was like, I would leave the car there, and then if the guys ask me while I'm out of state, hey, the car's in the way, can we move it? I'm just gonna summon it. I'll be hundreds of miles away.
The problem with
and
that
moving the car.
is if your car goes really close to the back of the carport, like where basically, as you can tell, where the front of Pearl is sitting in proximity to a bench or the wall, you might not be able to get it back there if it's close enough because the car's like, I don't want to get that close to something. So you might have your car sticking out a little bit from the
That's
carport
true.
if you do that.
This is not a great idea. I think they should design. I don't want summon, but
You want
all
remote
of the
control mode.
code. Yes, thank you. I want RC mode, where I can do it like Asphalt 8 style. Like you turn your phone on its side, and you're looking out the ultra wide camera from the top where the mirror is, and then you just have two little. You have a go forward, go backward, and a steer option, and you can literally control the car, move it.
Only if it's
on its
limited
own
to like
remotely.
2 or 3 miles per hour.
Oh yeah, it would still be like summon
it
speeds.
could get pretty crazy if you go up to like 5 to 10 miles per hour with you not being in the vehicle and controlling with the phone. And then let's just say you're in a.
Good.
That's what I'm saying is, what if you're in a bad connection area where like not even your phone can
Yeah.
connect to the car, even if you're like right next to
Uh-huh.
it. Then it's just like, okay, well,
That's kind of how Smart Summon works now, though, right? It only works if it establishes a really good connection. If
you have to
the
wait
internet's not
forever
good,
for it to load, and then it's
I
like,
won't do it.
okay, you can now probably press the forward or back button, and then it might go after a few seconds after holding it. I think there's a lot of work they
Free
can do with
ideas,
Summon.
Tesla. RC mode. That's my new request. Let me. Then you could get a bunch of Teslas together in a parking lot. All
You could do turtle racing.
Mario Kart for real.
But with
Alright.
your $50,000 EV.
No, it's 98,990. Any last thoughts?
Oh God.
Any final? By the way, that picture you sent, Mike, is that a bed rack or a roof rack?
That's a
bedrock.
bed rack because it's over the bed, but there is spots above where the drivers and passengers would be sitting for those racks as well, kind of like with what Rivian does, except Rivian's shaped like a typical pickup truck, so you can delineate above the roof and over the bed. The Cybertruck is just a weird SUV sport utility vehicle looking thing. So it's like, is it on one slant or the other?
It's not a bed rack. It's not a roof rack. It's a boof rack.
I don't know if you
Bye.
can say that. Bye.